What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Quantum Resistant Ledger channel. I am Ryan, your co-host, and I am joined here by Strike, the Director of Outreach here at the QRL. Strike, it's good to have you here. What's going on?
Doing great. Looking forward to some more content that we're trying to put out, and good day.
Awesome. Well, for this video today, whether you are QRL OG, one of the originals, or if you're newer to the QRL channel, in short, this is your video portal for everything post-quantum digital asset security. In today's video, we're going to be diving into kind of the temperature of quantum computers. That's kind of the realm of today's video, but in upcoming videos, we talk all things QRL, but we also talk about other popular areas of crypto, whether it's Bitcoin, whether it's just talking about progress of the industry as a whole or on a more micro level. But Strike, in today's video, I want to ask you a few questions about kind of a hot topic that all of us are probably being made aware of based on the news cycle. And that is, we're hearing about Pfizer and Moderna, which are these vaccine companies, and they've been all over the news of saying, hey, the Pfizer vaccine's got to be at negative such and such degrees, and the Moderna one can be a little bit warmer at something negative degrees. I don't know if I think one was at negative 80, maybe the other is at 30 or 40. But I wanted to ask you, since quantum computers need to be in a cold environment, how cold do quantum computers need to be in comparison to these vaccines? Can you dive into how cold they need to be?
Yeah, I was looking this up the other day. I think it was the two numbers were neg 70 and neg 20 Celsius on the scale. And that was, I think it had something to do with preventing the enzymes of from breaking down. But respective to quantum computers, like many things in life, everything is relative. There's cold. It's a cold day. There's colder, then there's really cold, and then there's just really, really cold. And when you start talking about the scale, the degree of coldness, when you're talking about a quantum computer, is you're talking about a controlled system or environment. You can picture essentially a very large enclosure to where all energy has been removed from that system, and it's insulated and kept cold in such a way that it's kept at fractions of a degree above absolute zero. Absolute zero meaning that there's no more energy that can be taken out of the system. Its energy is zero, is zilch. They're very, very much colder.
Yeah. What are the biggest, first off, what are the biggest challenges with getting quantum computers this cold? And then also, who are a few of maybe leaders in the space where you think, hey, they're actually making really good progress? I know it seems as if every other week or every other month, there's some announcement from, Honeywell or IBM or one of the big players, and hey, they're making big progress, or maybe it's IonQ where they're saying we're going to get to such and such qubits by now. Yeah. But who are a few players in the space, or that you're kind of are impressing you, or who maybe you think, okay, they're actually making really good progress based on your knowledge of it?
Sure. So there's a few major players in the space. I'm going to prefix with my own personal opinion is that quantum computing is a bit, I think I've said this before, a bit like an iceberg. I'll use that as an analogy. The progress that we see in the news, in the papers coming out, that's what's publicly visible, the top of the iceberg. There's a lot of strong indicators and nothing concrete, but there's certainly a lot of news that is proprietary, secret, that is underneath the surface that you can't see. But as far as commercial leaders in the space, we've got a bunch. We've got IBM. They're a leader. We've got Honeywell. We've got IonQ, as you mentioned. We've got D-Wave. They've been the longest player in the space with their quantum annealing machines. The rest of the machines are mostly based on trapped ion machines. And there's also a type of quantum computer that is called a photonic quantum computer, which runs using essentially a stream of light, photons, which has the advantage of being able to run closer to room temperatures. So the technology behind the refrigeration is actually really, it's just incredible, honestly. dilution refrigerators, being able to reach that level of temperature is incredibly challenging. The whole goal behind that is to be able to remove all the energy from within this. You can just think of it as a really large thermos. And you want to be able to remove all that energy so that none of the what people in the field will call systemic noise, which is stray electromagnetic radiation, be it photons or anything that might come into contact with that qubit, you have to keep away. Because if something comes into contact with it, any matter, energy, anything, it will collapse that wave function of that qubit. And essentially, it's like it would be the same thing as if your Windows machine were to blue screen. That's how sensitive these are. So there's a lot of progress that still needs to be made. But respective to your other question, as far as what the latest news are, there's tremendous news that's coming out. If you look at where we used to be just a few years ago versus where we are now, this is a scale that, it's a chart that looks like this, to where the amount of news, the amount of research, and the amount of funding being put in, and the accomplishments being made and the discoveries being made, it's really quite remarkable.
Yeah, and it's not just private money being put in too. There's also money from the public sector being put in all sorts of places, but
public and government. Yeah,
and
there's lots of government funding too. Yeah, and to me, that's like where we don't. I don't think I've seen any announcements from government or nations on what their progress is. That doesn't show up. And governmental funding is one of our biggest. Is a huge area of research.
Yeah,
that to me is a big unknown. What's happening there? It's an interesting question.
Yeah. So speaking of things that take a while to find out, or to find out what the answer of it is, and speaking of those would be the NIST announcement recently of going from draft recommended to official, along with LMS, and just kind of their announcement of moving forward with the quantum secure hash base SIG scheme with XMSS. And for a lot of people watching this, they're going to know what that is. But for the people that maybe don't, or if just the importance of this in general, this is not something that's just, hey, it happened type thing. This is kind of a foresight a long time ago, and it played out, based on getting the exact card right of which way to move forward. And I think this is big news. So can you just cover, just for a minute or two, just kind of what the NIST announcement means, and for the QRL, and just in general for the industry?
Certainly. So back in 2016, which is like 3 lifetimes ago, because
so we know in crypto land,
things move fast in crypto land, right?
Yeah.
So back in 2016, the NIST, which is the National Institute of Standards and Technology for the United States, they put out this announcement requesting they wanted nominations for public key post-quantum cryptographic algorithms, which is basically saying, okay, we're listening, guys, whether or not you're coming from private, public sector, government, it doesn't matter. Send us your ideas on how we can take public key cryptography, which is asymmetric asymmetric cryptographic functions, things that secure your website traffic, your credit card numbers. Anytime that you have a public key and private key, that type. Send us your ideas. We're willing to listen. This is a complex topic. We're willing to listen. So at that time, there was like 60 or 70 submissions that went through. And after 3 or 4 phases, some of them were broken, flat out broken. Some of them were cracked. Some of them didn't meet quality tests. And I got to give credit to Peter on this. Somehow he was able. He ran through this in his head, and there may have been other people involved. I was in the meeting, I wasn't there. But when he ended up going with XMSS. And up until just, I think it's been a month or two now, up until a month or two, XMSS has gone from a draft recommended state to an official recommendation for post-quantum secure public, hash-based functions. So there were a lot of options. That was if all things being equal, if you're to just try and pick one, that's like a 3 or 4% chance. Yeah, Peter nailed it. There's some sort of synergy there that's able to see what's coming. And I've talked about this before, just being able to connect those dots. I thought that was great intuition.
Yeah. No, thanks for diving into that for a few minutes and hopping on the phone with us to talk about that for a few. What we're going to be doing, Strike, or what I'd like to be doing in an upcoming video or two, not only do I want to dive into kind of some misconceptions with the Bitcoin hard fork. I know you have some strong opinions on that, but we just, myself and
the favorite topic of mine.
Yeah, and just based on internal conversations we're having amongst the team, there's a lot of news going on just within the crypto industry in general, whether it be stuff that we're doing at the QRL, progress that we're working on, or it's just, Bitcoin in general there's so much interest in that area. But one thing I wanted to mention is, if you haven't already seen it, the QRL, our new website, has got a complete haircut makeover. So if you haven't already checked it out, make sure that you go to theqrl.org, not .com.org. We are not the Queensland Rugby League. It is the first results when you search on Google, or if you just type it into your URL. But in upcoming videos, we're going to be diving in, like I said.
I heard they're good, though.
Yeah, but we're going to be diving into, misconceptions on the Bitcoin hard fork, Bitcoin, and then progress we're doing internally on the team. But I appreciate you chatting with Strike, chatting with us
Always.
This morning. And we will see you in the next video. And until then, Strike, have a great rest of the day.
Good to see
everyone watching as well.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.